All right, so let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. First of all, if you were thinking about the holidays and freaking out about them, I know I have been. I do every year. It seems like there's the combination of like excitement, dread, anticipation, dread, like excitement, like just kind of emotions all over the place. And so what I wanted to do is this is basically the follow-up of a former conversation. We had an original part one was in November. So I'm gonna go do like a little today. We're gonna do like a little overview of the November conversation. I'll talk a little bit about me first. I'm going to explain a little bit about who I am for those who don't know me. We're going to do a quick review from last month. Then we're going to get into today's topics and do work on those, some different little bit of teaching with those. And then I'm going to talk about how to work with me. And then we'll have some time for question and answer at the end. In the meantime, if you have questions and you would like to, and I will just say this, keep your camera on. You don't have to have it on. It's up to you. If you have a question as I'm talking, you're like, oh, I have this question. And it seems like I'm like in the middle of a flow, just go ahead and drop them in the chat. I have the chat open. And I will either stop what I'm doing or decide to answer that question at the end, depending on what's kind of happening, if that makes sense. All right. So what I want to start with is, and before I forget, at the end, I will be talking about how best to work with me and why hiring a coach this time of year is actually the best thing for you to do, because it seems counterintuitive, but a lot of times people are like, well, I'll wait till January, but really now is the best time. And we're going to talk about that. So I will explain that towards the end. So here's my story a little bit. Basically, I've been overweight my entire life, even as a kid, like a little kid, last picked for all the sports, just kind of felt awkward and, a little off, physically challenged, let's just say. And so I really began actively looking for a solution about 27 years ago when I was at my highest weight. So I'm 59 now, so it was probably like early 30s. And my husband and I were on a trip to the Alps, the French Alps. It was glorious. It was so beautiful there. And I love to ski. So we were staying with another couple at a chalet nearby. So it wasn't like a normal ski lodge kind of place. It was like we actually drove from their home and we went to rent the equipment, and my legs were too large for the ski boots. I guess, it's France, right? So I don't know if anybody's been to France, but anyway, I'm just saying my legs were too big. All I know is felt humiliated and so disappointed and just embarrassed. The couple was lovely. They took me back to the chalet, and then I sat in a nook and read a book for the rest of the day. But that's sort of when that was my like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like something has got to change. I'm only in my early 30s. I need to figure this out, a long-term solution for weight loss. So what I did was, at that point, I started trying a bunch of different things, Weight Watchers, pills, South Beach diet, and nothing really seemed to hit until the solution that I found that really worked for me was getting coached. And that I found about 5 years ago. I started that journey about 5 years ago. So now moving on to holidays, about the holidays. So I used to think, I don't know about you guys, and you can put your camera on, raise your hand, however you would like to interact if you would like. But when I would think about the holidays, I would feel like pressure or tension in some way. So I would either think, oh, you know what, this year, I'm just not going to care. I'm going to just eat all the things. And then another year I'd be like, nope, I'm going to be really good. I'm going to just say no. And like, for example, I didn't even make cookies one year because I was like, well, I, don't want to, overeat. And then most of the years, I would say, this is how it went. I'm going to be really good this year. And it would start before Halloween. I would start thinking, I'm going to be really good this year. And then get like very uptight and tense, and then not be able to manage my mind through the rest of the 2 months until the New Year's, and end up eating all the things anyway. And then by January 1st, I would feeling depleted and discouraged and heavier than ever. So I want to talk about how to get through the holidays and enjoy them without overeating or gaining weight or losing your mind, because that's what it felt like. It felt like this was so stressy and pressury. So let's review from last session, shall we? Oh, and I'm going to put the link for those who have not seen this, I'm going to just pop that in there. And if you can't get it, let me know. If you can't like copy and paste it because you're on a laptop or whatever. That's the YouTube link. I think it'll make it into a link. Oh, there we go. That is only for people who have the link. It's a private YouTube. So I have other videos over on YouTube, but that one's private. And it's basically the webinar from November. That way you can kind of get up to speed on that. But this is what the topics were. So they were, here's the review. So basically it was planning with your future self in mind. And I know, I apologize for my handwriting. I worked really hard to keep it as pretty as well. Anyway, plan with your future self in mind, anticipate obstacles, and then create some hypotheses to overcome those obstacles from a place of love and compassion and curiosity, not judgment. So being the scientist, not the judge. Letting go of perfectionism, we talked about that. And we will be talking about that for Christmas as well. And then being kind to yourself and others, because of course we're having, dinners or mixing with other people. So we will be talking about that as well this time too. So let's just get started with the topics for this month and for December, and they are holiday parties. I don't know if you all have holiday parties. We're in a very interesting time in our life right now. We don't have any specific holiday parties like Christmas parties, but I did have one. I've been there. Let's just say my former company, we always had an annual holiday party, and it was just always so awkward and weird and strange. And I will just say parties / dinners. So anytime there's like a special event or a party, first of all, the thing that I love to do is just notice exactly how many there are. In the past, when I would be like uptight about the holidays, I would think, oh my gosh, there's all these parties coming up. What am I going to do? There's all this extra food and I don't know what to say. And then I feel awkward and I feel stressed, or someone says something and then I feel even more stressed. And then I overeat because I'm at this party or whatever. So first, take a breath and just write down on a calendar how many parties you actually have. My guess is you'll be surprised that it isn't that many, even if it's like Christmas dinner with your family, or Thanksgiving. In the case of, if we're looking at all the holidays, it's Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner. That's 2. And maybe somebody's work party, possibly there's a spouse involved, so you have 2 work parties. Sometimes you have whatever, family gatherings, this, that, and the other thing, right? So you may end up with, out of the 2 months that we have, there's maybe like 5, 6, if we're generous, of days that are sort of like have special events. So just brings the temperature down a little bit of going, okay, out of like 50 some days, I only have 5 of these that I have to deal with. So from today going forward, there's 27 days till the end of the year. And so New Year's is in there too, right? That's a party. It's usually some type of party, some type of food will be involved with that. So that goes on your calendar. And what I have is I'm going to be offering for you guys a PDF. Actually, I will send that in the follow-up. It's going to be in the follow-up with the recording. So that you'll have a recording of this. The PDF of my holiday guide will be in there. There's a page in there that has listing all the different holiday parties, and you can just go ahead and print off as many holiday parties as you have. So if there's 4 parties, 4 of these pages, okay? On those pages, you're going to do the same things. You're going to put the dates on your calendar. You're going to anticipate and hypothesize. So you're going to anticipate what obstacles you might be coming up that might be an issue, and then hypothesize how you want to overcome them. So, for example, not knowing what to say. So this is my thing. I'm always like, oh, there are new people, especially when it was my company party and I would be meeting spouses, like the spouse of my coworker. I would always feel awkward. I would feel like there's something wrong with me and not know I want to make a really great impression. So one of the things that helped me to calm myself down was to just be really curious and start thinking about the other person. Because chances are, if they're another person and they're coming to this party for the first time, that maybe they feel awkward or they feel weird, not knowing anybody. So asking questions, just putting myself aside and not worrying so much about what I looked like or came off like, and asking questions, being curious about them. Um, and I'm trying to think what else. There was a couple, yeah, I'm thinking, let me just look at my notes real quick. Yeah, I'm finding a way to bring calmness and fun into the situation. So that's what I did that made it a little bit more fun. Actually, I'm just gonna do this real quick. There we go. All right. Any questions or anything for that? And if not, that's fine too. Okay. So next, asking yourself ahead of time what's going to be challenging. That was the first one. Starting with your dates, anticipate what could be challenging. Also, anticipating what could be fun. That's actually an amazing thing to do. So I love to anticipate, and just think about sometimes just getting your mind out of the it's going to be terrible and think, oh, wait, is there something I would be looking forward to? Um, Live music, for example, in our company party, we would have live music. We'd have like our Christmas gathering, we'd have a white elephant, and that was always a hoot, and just sort of getting your head around, well, it's not all terrible. And sometimes our brains go to the negative. So just starting to open up to the ideas of maybe there's something that I would really like at this event. So for your family parties, same thing, like what could be fun. This one I love to do is decide ahead of time what foods you really want and which ones you could live without. So I love to, this works in so many levels, but ranking from 1 to 4, like, for Christmas, like, I don't know, there are certain types of cookies or certain types of sweets or a specific thing. Now, when you're going to a party, very often you don't know. So what I love to do is, in the hypothesize over here, is if I'm nervous about maybe not liking the food and getting extra hungry and then overeating something that I don't really love, then I might actually bring with me a bag of nuts and go out in the car and eat them, or grab some nuts ahead of time and eat them before I go. And then just be very intentional about and notice my hunger signals while I'm there and decide what I want to eat and what I don't want to eat. So those are my little tips and tricks for when I go to a holiday party. Sometimes one of the things that we anticipate and I hypothesize is interacting with people that have, let's just say, different ideas than we do, or we'll just call them difficult people. So you're thinking to yourself, and this is where I have had these thoughts so many times. So you might be with a friend at this event and they make a special dessert, and you're thinking to yourself, I can't believe they made this thing. They know I'm on a diet. What are they trying to sabotage me or what? Like, what the heck's going on here? Or they they know I'm on a diet. They make food I like. Why? Or I'm afraid that if I start eating this X, Y, or Z, this my favorite thing, that I won't be able to stop. And that feels just so stressy. So I'm just not going to start, but I don't want to hurt their feelings. And then you get the food pushers, the people that are like, well, I mean, it's for you, and I'll be really hurt if you don't. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. The other thing that we think about sometimes with difficult people is you think, I'm so stressed. These people are totally stressing me out. They say things that trigger me, and then I cannot stop eating. It's not my fault. Like, I cannot stop the eating. So what we're going to do is, if nothing else, if you get nothing else out of this talk, this is the most important thing. We're going to take a big breath. We're going to have a pause in the midst of that. So you're getting geared up. You're thinking things like, these people are, sabotaging me, or they're saying things that are just stressing me out. And what the most important thing is, and it's right here, to create safety for yourself. The way we're going to do that is we're going to connect our body to our mind. So we're going to put our hands on our body in some form. I have my other one. You can't see it, but it's on my stomach. I don't know if you can see it. I'm not tall enough. I like to do it here. Some people, if you're noticing in your body that tension, that stress, you put your hand anywhere in your body, a connected feeling to your body. Sometimes it's like this, like this, like this, like this on your body. And when you're with a group of people, my little trick on that one is I grab my wrist and I'll hold it and just like talk as I'm talking to the person and like kind of do like a little gentle squeeze there. That's another option. Sometimes you do need to remove yourself and do that connected, touch to your body and just take a pause and a big, deep breath in and slow breath out. And that will help you to basically what that does is calms down your nervous system so that your brain can just sort of function a little bit more clearly. Because what's happening is you might be in like that fight, that anxious fight or flight mode when you're feeling triggered or stressed or anxious or afraid or whatever that feeling is. Just notice how it feels in your body and just take a pause. What I do, a little trick for when you're at a party or gathering is I'll just run to the restroom and I'll go do that in the restroom. I'll just take some deep breaths in the restroom and I'll start thinking about some things. It's just a game changer. So like I said, if nothing else, this is really the most important thing. And be kind to yourself. Remind yourself you are loved, you are cared for. And the other option, and this has come up when actually one of my clients has a relative who, and we have them, right, that sometimes overindulge in alcohol or some other substance. And so one of our things that we came up with was for her to find a safe person for her to run interference, because whenever she would engage with this individual, it did not go well. And she did not feel safe. She didn't feel like she was able to. So she was able to tell her husband to say, look, I'm not feeling, I think you need to help out with this. And sometimes that's what it could take. So these are very real things. I just want to be real honest with you guys. If you have any questions about this, let me know. But that pause is the most important thing. And that is like a game changer in lots of different areas when we're dealing with urges, with other things too. But this is also something we work with one-on-one with my clients, that's something we develop. And it's a skill that you can develop. It's really great. All right, so the food pushers. So here's how I love to deal with my food pusher strategy. So the food pusher, first of all, they're saying things like, but I made this for you, and you don't want to hurt their feelings because you're a nice person. You don't want to hurt their feelings, right? So once you decide, so first of all, back to the list of your top 4, you decide which ones are a yes and which ones are a no. If the thing is a no, that this person is, wanting you to eat, some options are so one of the things that I would just want to point out is that we actually don't have the power to hurt someone's feelings. That is up to them. Now, I know that sounds cold, and that is something that we work on with coaching. But the truth is that you either will be disappointing yourself or them. So sometimes what happens is in that case, we end up disappointing ourselves by overeating or by not keeping our promise to ourselves or by not having our own back. So this is my solution for food pushers. If somebody really insists, like sometimes I'll just say, oh, I'm good, thanks, let it pass. And they might respect it. If they don't, and they insist on giving me the item, then I will ask for it to go. I'll just say, hey, do you mind just putting it on a paper plate? And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure it's delicious. And then I'll take it home with me. And then what you do with it at home is up to you. If you have a pet, there's always the dog, the trash can, eat it later, freeze it, you decide, but it's having it on your terms. You actually are a important person in this whole scenario, right? So you count. It's not just them. So that's an important piece that I just wanted to point out. Also kids, or if you have a husband with or if you want to take it to work or, share it with some other people. That was the other one too. Okay. Next, what to do with baking. So holiday baking strategy. So this is so fun. So this is something I learned from my coach, and it's literally has changed my concept of how I do the things. So let me just say, the years that I didn't make the cookies, it was not satisfying either, because I have my grandmother's recipe. She wrote it. I'm older, so she wrote it in a fountain pen, and it's this a thing called a sand tart. If you guys are familiar with sand tarts, so good. And it's my grandmother's handwriting, and I love it. I love making them. I love eating them. It just, the memory, the smell in the kitchen. So I do actually choose to bake. What you decide, you can decide not to. That's actually another option as well. But in my case, I really love making them. So when I'm making them, what I do is I create a protocol. So I create a protocol just like the other one with, let me go, starting again, the top 4 of the ones that are important to me, important to my family, which ones make the list. So I don't do all the cookies. Oh, nice. Yeah. So, so Kathy just wrote, to everyone, so you can all see that this is, yeah, the French pastry. So good. So, okay, I got you. All right. So what I do is create the protocol, decide which ones you want, and limit the ones that you don't care for as much, or other people's favorites. So you're limiting our scope right there. So that already takes down some overwhelm, truly. Then secondly, what I do is create a plate. I just grab, I meant to bring it out, my little plate. So pretend this is a plate. You put the plate next to your mixer or wherever you're doing the batter, make them the batter. Because of course I'm a licker. And you tell yourself you can have as much as you want. You put it on your plan for the morning. So for those of you who work with me, we create a daily plan. So I always put the cookie or the batter, it will go on my plan, because if I'm going to eat it, I want to know. We just bring awareness and, looking at it. So it goes on my plan. The batter is on. If I'm planning to eat batter, what I will do is I will take as much batter as I was either eating. If I ate it, which I do sometimes do, I'll either eat it and then put the equivalent amount on that plate. So at least I'm bringing some awareness and consciousness to how much I'm eating. The other option is option 2, which is think about, I'm going to take a wad of batter and I put it right on the plate to start with, and then I can have it when I'm done if I want. So I know it sounds a little odd, but what it does is it eliminates the unconscious eating. I don't know if you guys have this happen when it's with cooking too. Sometimes you do have to actually taste the food. So it's those bites, licks, and tastes that once you look at the plate and you see what's on there, you realize, oh my gosh, that's like a half a cup of whatever. It's just to bring your brain into the awareness of, I thought it was just like a lick here and a lick there, but the truth is it's actually a substantial amount of food. And no wonder I'm not hungry for dinner, or the food that I also wanted to eat. Again, there's nothing wrong with eating the food, the sweets, but maybe you eat a little less lunch that day or whatever. Again, noticing and bringing that awareness. Does that make sense? This has been a game changer for me. Let me think. What's next? Okay. Oh, and then ranking your favorites, which I said before. So ranking which are the ones that are worthy, are stomach worthy. I love to think about, like, whatever the food is at any meal. The truth is, you can do this at any meal, is decide which ones are your favorites, and they always go on your plan. So when I do my daily plan, and at this time of year, we do a little, and it sounds insignificant, but again, with those little tiny bites, licks, and tastes, they add up. We do an advent calendar, and I put the candy on my plan. We have little Rolos in our little, advent calendar or whatever it is. Again, just to bringing that awareness, it helps you to have more power over what goes in your mouth. So fun. Okay. Last, all the things. This is my topic for number 4. It's just all the things. So in the past, what I would say was I would have this, like, again, probably starting when it would hit me would be like the 15th of December. I'm not usually a very good planner. Around the 15th, I would start thinking, I need to write cards to everybody. I need to make all the cookies in the universe. I need to, have a party. And then you start feeling like I should have done all these different things, baked all my things from scratch, written to a private note to every person, take a beautiful family photo that we all look amazing in, right? Meanwhile, the reality is a big, like, not that. So what I do now, first of all, is when I think about what do I want to do, I examine, first of all, is what's behind this urge to want to write to every single person. And then I realize, oh, it's I don't want to let people down, right? Or something along those lines. Usually it's like I want to, keep up, or it's usually some type of comparison. It's usually some type of, but everyone else is doing it and I should too. So just sort of notice that it's okay that we're not all the same people. We all have our own gifts and talents and things that we're great at. So then thinking about, is there an alternative? Is there another way? So for example, when it comes to baking, there was, I forget what year that was. I can't remember now, but there was one year where the year I decided not to bake, I bought cookies to share with my friends instead of baking them. And nobody really cared, quite honestly. It took me a lot less time. And the truth is, they knew I was thinking of them. And the message was sent that I thought enough to put something in a little package with a little ribbon on it, and I gave it to them. The true thing was that I wanted my friends to know that I loved them. It didn't need to be from scratch, antique cookie, press or whatever. So thinking about what could be an alternative, there was a year, like their newsletter is another one that I used to feel very pressured to do. We all get them, right? These newsletters, and every child is brilliant and every, person looks amazing. Their life is just dandy. And I would think, oh, I need to, write these letters or take a picture of the family photo and send it to everybody. So that was something I decided now with social media, it's actually okay. The people that I am in contact with regularly, they already know what's going on. And the people that I don't, if they're interested, I can shoot them a private DM on Messenger or something like that. That there are other ways now with electronic, with email and things like that. So that was just one of those things that for me, I let go because I would just spend way too long figuring out the newsletter and the margins and how it looked and getting the right paper and all that kind of stuff. Or if it was a photo, like standing a certain way so that I didn't look, too heavy or whatever. And I never like the way I look in the photos anyway. So it was just a mess. So I just let that go. I decided that could just not be important. So here's the question that I love to ask is, what are some other ways? Is there another way? What's behind it? Is there another way? And what are some of your ideas that could take less time? Like just start exploring like things that are important and what could you do that take a little bit less time? The last is being kind to yourself and others. And ask yourself what is really going on? What's really important for me? When you're thinking about it, this is where I want you to pause and go, what am I feeling right now? What is this feeling that's overcome this urgency to be and do and produce? Like, what's going on? What's really happening? So getting, again, that pause, this is what I talked about earlier, in getting connected with your mind and your body is how we learn to not overeat. And it's also important because usually there's a feeling, some type of urgency, some type of comparison, some type of not enoughness in there that we are feeling that causes us to want to overdo. And if we don't overdo, we feel like we let everyone down. then we overeat and we feel terrible about ourselves. So this is where the pause is super important. Last, celebrate every success. This is super, super important. And I'm going to say this again as many times as possible. When you catch yourself in the midst of like starting to spin out, you're in that party and you're like, ugh, and you pause, you catch it and pause. That's a celebration, because these are skills that are new and it takes time to learn them. So every time you catch yourself pausing and having your own back, you get to celebrate. Man, let me just tell you, this is where it's at. This is so good. It's so important. The catching yourself before you overeat. Even if you stop yourself in the midst of overeating and you stop yourself sooner than you would have, that's a celebration, because you're showing up as a different human than you used to show up. These are all the things that I used. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, that I lost 80 pounds. I forgot. I talk about burying the lead, like way burying the lead. Yes. I was in my 225s. I'm now in the 140s, mid 140s, and in a range. And so, yeah, I've been down 80 pounds for the last 3 years. And a lot of this stuff is what have kept me at my ideal weight. I'm so thrilled to be here. It still shocks me a little bit because it's been such a short percentage of my whole life, but it's for sure. It's forever. I have no desire to go back to the way I used to be. So anyway, sorry about that. I just realized I totally forgot that, but that's a celebration, right? So, and any pound you lose, any time you catch yourself stopping, anytime you say no to a person and you're feeling like you're worried about disappointing them, but you're thinking, I'm having my own back, that's a celebration. So, and that leads to the next topic, which is the reentry plan. So let me grab this. Okay. So I'm starting to think about January now. So a lot of times I would be like muscling my way through the holidays, and then January would roll around. I would be exhausted. You're like physically tired because of all the gatherings and shopping and extra stuff that we do. And then you're depleted because you've been like, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat. And then you overeat. And then you feel terrible. And then you start off January 1st, heavier than ever. So this is why now is the time to start thinking about how you want to feel on January 1st. Now, this is what we talked about in our former webinar or our training, but thinking about your goals for January right now, where you are now. Don't worry about what happened, like the last month that's over. Starting from today on, you are deciding, I'm going to either maintain my weight. I don't mind if I gain a few pounds because I'm going to eat some special food, or I would like to plan to lose X number of pounds. Making your goals specific, because then you want to measure your success. How will you measure that success? It may be not a weight goal at all. It may be a measurement goal. It might be, I want to make cookies without eating the batter this time 3 times, or whatever your goal is such a great way to celebrate and measure by measuring your success and thinking about how you want to feel on January 1st. Like, what is it that you would like to feel? Besides, you don't want to feel depleted and frustrated, right? So proud or competent or calm or peaceful or grateful, and thinking about what leads you to get to those feelings. So it could be, I really want to spend quality time with my family. I want to, whatever the topic, whatever the feeling is that you want to generate, January 1st, start thinking about that now. Here's the tricky one. Watch what comes up for you when you think something along the lines of, yep, got to get back on the bandwagon. How many of us have said that? Oh, reentry. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I gotta tighten up the reins, get back on the wagon, whatever that wording is. This is super, super important. Think about how you want to feel. So watch out for those thoughts. If they're not helpful, if they don't make you feel good, then it's time to start switching those thoughts up and think something different. So, for example, let me see, I have this written out. Hang on. Basically, right. When you think of now I say to myself, I can have anything I want anytime. That the months of October to January are no different than the whole rest of the year. The way I teach weight loss is you can have anything you want at any time as long as you write it down. This is my rule is you write it down ahead of time and you eat when you're actually physically hungry and you stop when you've had enough. In my world, any of those foods are okay to eat. So noticing how you feel about them, but you still get like that. There's nothing in my weight loss strategy. With the way I did it, this is my lived experience. I didn't eliminate any types of foods. So for the holidays, when you are maybe having a few more sweets than normal, the truth is I eat sweets very much throughout the year. So it doesn't matter. It's not as big of a deal. When we start thinking, I got to buckle up, I got to, whatever, jump back on the wagon for January, it's because we're not enjoying exception foods, I like to call them, the rest of the year. So foods that maybe are not fuel foods, but foods that are just delightful to eat. I call them exception foods. I eat them anytime. And so that's super helpful this time of year to think it's okay. I can have X, Y, or Z anytime. These cookies. So a lot of times, so here's as far as strategy goes. That's sort of like this, how to have your own back. So one of the things I do is I will freeze some of my Christmas cookies because I want to have them. I don't want to. So in the past, that's what I was going to say. In the past, I don't know if you guys have done this. You have all this exception food that's in the house and you're thinking, oh, January 1's coming. I'm back on the diet. I'm back on the wagon. And what do? We eat it all. So we don't have to face it in January, right? Which people, I mean, I did this every year. Now, instead of that, which doesn't work because then you, of course, gain weight and you're eating food that you're not hungry for, I instead will find strategies for how to solve for this. So I'll either throw it out, save it for later, freeze it and save it for later, give it away to someone else. Trying to think if there's anything else. They're very, very often I don't want to have the food around. So there's nothing wrong with that. That to have that extra pressure and extra stress to have the food around, I don't think it's a bad thing. Also, knowing you can go out and buy it anytime you want or make the food, or especially if it's a special recipe, you can make it anytime you want, is also very freeing. It's amazing. All right. So let me see. Yeah. So that's where having your own back, no matter what. And guess what? Last, celebrate success. Celebrate every little success. So you threw away some of your food. You ended the year feeling proud of yourself. You, whatever that success looks like to you, you spent time with your family and are appreciating that. Noticing how you feel about you when it comes to this process. So that is all I have. I am going to share, like I said, that PDF when the replay comes up. I will send that holiday protocol guide sheet, whatever that's called, to you guys. So for those of you who are interested in coaching, now this is for you folks here and those who are on the replay. If you have not worked with me, I work with, oh yeah. So during this talk, we talked about how to manage our mind, how things would be different if you feel different going into next year. The reason working with me now is the most important is because you can start off now and be feeling amazing by next year. I also will be working with people when you're having those parties or the issues with gathering with other people. We walk through how you want to feel, getting connected, creating a protocol. If you would rather work with someone to create your protocol, I'm very happy to help you with that. So those are some of the reasons that working with me now versus waiting till like the new year. And that's super helpful. Also, when we do a when we do my consultation. So I'll do a little quickie of here of how to work with me. Let's take this down. So, and I created a little quick cheat sheet for those who's are interested. That basically, the only way to work with me right now is one-on-one. So that requires a consultation. So we talk one-on-one with a consultation, which is so fun. Basically, the point of the consultation is for you to get very clear on what it is that you want, and I help you decide. That's really what the consultation is about. My coaching package is 6 months, 24 sessions. I do it 24 instead of 26 because it's 6 months, there's always something to some holiday or event or vacation or something that gets in the way. So basically it gives you 2 weeks off. It's one-on-one coaching for 45 to 50 minutes, depending. It's a weekly Zoom meeting. I also will do extra support through email or Voxer if you're interested in Voxer support. And then I always have worksheets or guides. I love making them, and they have helped me. So I'm always sending PDFs to assist you with that. So one of the things that I love to talk about is, for women especially, is we don't prioritize ourselves very often. That when we're talking about our, especially those of us who are socialized as women, tend to put everyone else first. And when we prioritize ourselves, it's actually better for ourselves and our loved ones. And that feeling of overwhelm and the holidays, it's because very often we just keep put ourselves last, and wait till the end, or think someday I'm going to prioritize myself. So I just wanted to offer that maybe this is that time to start prioritizing you. And I would love to assist you on your journey to do that. So, yeah, so that's all I have, I think. Yeah, during the one-on-one, we talk about what you want to do. Eliminates decision fatigue. That's another one. I have lots of options. One of the things that I love to talk about is how I got into coaching. It is kind of crazy. I hired my first coach about 5 years ago, and we were in a situation where it was December of 2019. So I don't know if you all remember, but I remember that time. Remember those innocent days, the days of youth before COVID. And my husband had lost his job. I wanted to sign with my coach in September, but he didn't have a job, and I didn't feel comfortable spending money on myself. So I waited till December, which was fine. It wasn't my first choice, but it was fine. And started working with her in December. And then, of course, in March, I lost my job. So I did have lots of time to focus on myself and focus on coaching, but basically once that happened, what was so interesting was I felt I was getting so much from the coaching that it almost didn't matter that I didn't have a job. And my husband saw the changes that were happening in me, that he was like, I don't care what we need to do. You're doing this. This was so helpful for you. So he saw the benefit. I saw the benefit. Anyway, that's just a little something to kind of think about and mull on. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. I think Debbie might have jumped off, but if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you have any questions about any of the topics, and if you want to practice a little coaching session, I'm good with that too. So now is the time to raise your hand or jump on the screen and ask the question, or just type it in the chat. Great. Okay. Debbie says, hold on. Great. Okay. So the question is how to handle in the middle of a party and you blow it. That's a really good question, because it has happened. Trust me, it has happened to me. So that's one of those times where notice what's coming up for you, what you're feeling, And this is where I would, like in the name of always having your own back, is remove yourself from the situation if possible. Go to a private place, a bathroom, do your connected hands on your body and notice how you're feeling. Take some deep breaths from a place of compassion. And this is where, even if you've, and let me just say, the language of blown it at the party is triggering right there, because you have not blown it till the party's over, right? It's not over. You may have overeaten at that moment, but there's likelihood you're going to eat. Now, Kathy also, and I think you guys can all see this, that eating after the party and not with others. And that was mine too, by the way. And I did address that actually in the November webinar. So I'm going to, this applies to this topic. So I'm going to talk about it now as well. And that is, when we think what'll happen is we think I've blown it, then afterwards we're more likely to overeat. If we think, oh, I noticed I overate, I wonder why, and just have that time of connection and go, what was happening when I chose to overeat, and sort of examining it. Maybe the next day when you're not in the midst of the party, for the examining part. In the midst of the party, you stop, you remove yourself, you get yourself connected, you calm yourself down. If you need to continue to eat, go ahead and eat. This is afterwards that I'm talking about now. Usually the next morning, I have a worksheet. Of course, I have a worksheet that's called the After the Overeat Analysis. And you go through that sheet and try to discover what it was that was triggering you to cause the overeating. Kathy, it was interesting. So for me, I noticed I would, for holiday events that I was providing the food for, I would make the food. I would overdo a lot of extra work, and then I would feel super depleted the next day, plus be stuck with a ton of extra leftovers. And for my case, one of the things I discovered after doing one of these overeat analysis was I was making extra food because I was telling myself I don't get this any other time of the year. I was making extra food because I wanted people to think that I was a generous person and made lots of food. I was like, all these things were underneath the surface that I did not catch till I got coached. And now I'm aware of that. So when Thanksgiving came this time of year and I had a chance to like double the recipe or just make a single recipe, it's like, no, there's only this many people. I'm going to make a single recipe. I don't want to be stuck with a bunch of leftovers. I did get tired, even though we had a small Thanksgiving. It's so interesting. I could have started with that. We had a small Thanksgiving. I was still very tired. It was a lot of work, even though it was just, I made like, I don't know, 4 or 5 dishes, but it still felt like, I don't know, I was just tired. So knowing how you're going to feel afterwards, to clear your calendar, because I'm going to be tired the next day, or I'm going to have a headache. Usually for me, it shows up in a headache. It comes out of my body in that way. You need to figure out what it is for you in your body, how it shows up, and from a place of kindness, from a place of curiosity, starting to anticipate, okay, so the day after, I want to plan this thing for self-care. And it's the same thing when you've had the overeat in the midst of the party, that you want to care for yourself, that it's some type of care that needs to happen for you to help you learn from it, because no overeat is ever wasted if you can learn from it. I still overeat. I still have regular overeats. And I do that worksheet when I have them. Whenever I notice myself eating out of control, I do these. I go try to figure out, okay, what was it that was triggering? This is a lifestyle. It's not like hey, you got your goal and moving on and you're done. This is like a lifestyle. It's going to continue to go on. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if that makes sense, or if you have any other questions. I can wait. Thank you for asking. They were both really good questions. Never mind. Oh, you know what? I will try to think. I don't think you'll get it. I'll put it I'm going to do it in the follow-up email for everybody. So yeah, you'll have that. All right. I think that is everything. Anyone, I don't know if you want to sign off. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.